Glimpses of San Diego's Filipino-American community history. Looking around, I realize that there are many newcomers in San Diego's Filipino-American community who do not have any idea of the past. One by one, old-timers are passing away before we have a chance to learn their story. By Simeon G. Silverio Jr., publisher and editor, San Diego Asian Journal. Published in the San Diego Asian Journal, January 23, 2009. Issue last December 31st, we were honored to be invited to the New Year's Eve party of Asian Journal's resident poet, Sol Bautista, held in the beautiful home of her doctor son in Chula Vista. Sol is lucky to have her family intact here in San Diego and hold family reunions anytime. The Bautista family, like most San Diego Filipino Americans, came from the Cavite province where the American naval base Sangley Point was located. And many adventurous young men in Cavite joined the U.S. Navy, not only because of the base's proximity, but also to follow the footsteps of their elder relatives. Their predecessors not only paved the way, but also achieved the American dream. In San Diego, it is possible for people from Cavite and Zambales, where the U.S. naval base in Subic Bay was located, to have reunions with their kindergarten classmates. The reason? Their entire community is already here, thanks to the U.S. Navy. In contrast, Metro Manilans like me who reside in San Diego are lucky to run into somebody from our neighborhood in Quezon City. Fortunately for me, I have two from our neighborhood enjoying the fine weather here in America's finest city, my brother Santi and our across-the-street neighbor Dr. Maria Lourdes Reyes. Close relatives. The house of Sol's son was full that evening. To my surprise, everyone, except for my wife and I, was a close relative. There was no need to invite friends, as aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, and other kins were enough to hold a big bash. Among the guests was an elderly gentleman and a brother of Sol whom I did not recognize at first, John Oropesa. John was quite a legend in San Diego's Filipino community as the founder of the first Filipino Oriental store, Family Loompya. Located on Rio Drive in Paradise Hills, it opened its doors in the 70s. I've always known John as a humble man who kept to himself, but I found him very accommodating that evening. John prefers to keep a low profile. He was still with the U.S. Navy when his wife brought handmade lumpia to a potluck. A lot of American servicemen, especially the officers, liked the lumpia so much that they asked her to bring some to every party. When John sensed that it would be a viable product, he offered to sell it at commissary stores. He got permission and suddenly found himself with his hands full. Eventually, he set up a factory to keep up with demand. Later, he opened an Oriental store to partly sell his product to the public, especially the growing Filipino-American community during the 1970s. As a pioneer in the Oriental store business, John had to look for creative ways to find suppliers for his unique products. He drove up to Los Angeles early in the morning to get fresh vegetables to sell in his store. When he found out that the Los Angeles middleman was getting his vegetables from a farm in nearby Riverside, he went there himself to buy the product directly from the supplier. The farmer refused at first, but when John offered to buy all the vegetables he could produce, the latter realized that there was no need for him to sell to Los Angeles consumers. His consumers in San Diego were more than enough to deplete his stock. John once overheard two Filipina shoppers in his store talking about fish for sale. "I want to buy the fish," one of them said to another, "but I do not have the time to clean it." The casual remark gave him an idea. John's supermarket became the first to offer fish cleaning services, saving shoppers time and inconvenience. Then, there was this matter of selling bagoong, anchovy, to his Filipino customers. At first, it was not a problem. But when the demand increased, he needed to import shipments from the Philippines. However, the authorities refused to allow the products because of their smell. He told customs that it was safe to eat bagoong because it is a cooked product, but they did not listen. Finally, he organized his associates to meet with the government officials and plead their case. "Let us not talk at the same time," he told his associates who were all Filipinos. He was aware of the penchant of his countrymen to be disorganized during their meetings with Americans. He was especially careful to give everyone a chance to speak. However, during the meeting, no one would speak. Finally, John was forced to speak and plead the case on everyone's behalf. They got the permit. early years, I am sure if we stayed longer at the party, I would have been able to learn even more about John and the early years of the Filipino American community in San Diego. But my wife and I did not want to impose on the family during their New Year Eve reunion. However, that brief meeting reinforced a need. That is, to interview old-timers like John so that we can preserve and pass their history to the next generation and even to those outside of our community. Our efforts will foster better understanding and greater appreciation of our community, especially for the pioneering efforts of those who were here before us. Looking around, I realize that there are many newcomers in San Diego's Filipino American community who do not have any idea of the past. One by one, old-timers are passing away before we have a chance to learn their story. I remember during the early 80s when people like Papa Cecil Remoti, Johnny Casison, Rocky Bungay, Charlie Linayao, Gene Nocon, and others used to attend the Filipino Men's Forum and talk about their lives in San Diego during the 70s. They are now all gone, and their memories went with them. Lately, old-timers like Ernie Flores, Dr. Ed Manayag, Del Labao, and others are no longer with us, as are their memories of the past. For these reasons, the San Diego Asian Journal, which I, Simeon Silverio, publish and edit, in cooperation with Dr. Rizzo Aids and the Kalusugan Community Services, will revive the Filipino American Forum. The Kapihan Coffee Shop Talk meetings will start next Saturday, January 31st, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the KCS, located at 1419 8th Street in National City, with telephone number 619-477-3392. We will interview Filipino old-timers and ask them to recall the past. The meetings will be recorded digitally so that they will be preserved for future use. Community members, filmmakers, and documentarians can use the materials in the future. We hope our forum will become a regular event so that we can preserve accounts of the Philam communities and pass them on to our future generations. We also plan to discuss other issues that affect our community. The public is invited to come, listen, ask questions, and enjoy the camaraderie. And most important of all, have a free breakfast. It's on us. And that closes the book on this matter. Subscribe to this channel to listen to more enjoyable stories like this. This is an episode of the YouTube channel, Our Life and Times Stories. This is Chapter 52 of the book, Stories of Some Filipino Americans of San Diego County, published by Papyrus Books, with email address papyrusbooks@yahoo.com. To order a copy of the book, go to amazon.com and enter the name of the author, Simeon Silverio, in the browser.